Welcome everyone to Overcome Podcast. Today, I have a very interesting conversation with someone that's been going through a lot, overcame a lot, and we're gonna hear about her story. Tracy Frances, thank you very much for being on.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Tracy. I heard the other interview in the other podcast that you gave. I will try to isolate myself about what I heard because I want you to tell your story again in this podcast. So let's start with why did you start training jiu-jitsu?
So I started training jujitsu. It's pretty funny. I think that like every other female, we some of us are looking for a self-defense class, and I was looking for a self-defense class. So I just was kind of Googling local places in the area and saw that there was one locally that had a free trial class, and I was like, oh cool, perfect, I'll just go take the free trial class. And so I showed up for that, and it was completely not what I expected it to be. I thought I was going to be thrown in with a whole bunch of brand new people, which I technically was, but like thought like we're all going to be our first day people. And nope, we just dove right into it, and I was like, oh my God, I don't belong here, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm hindering everyone else's training. And then one of my training partners, Erica, she said, no, like it helps me to explain to you like how to do this stuff. It helps me out. And that was all I needed to hear. And so I stuck with it. So, but I wanted to do jujitsu to begin with because for the past 15 years, I had suffered with an unknown illness. I was misdiagnosed a bunch of times. I had seen over 30 specialists over the years, and nobody could figure out what was wrong with me until May of last year. I finally got a diagnosis that I had chronic Lyme disease.
Now,
It
let
was
me pause there. Explain to the audience that does really not know, and I honestly didn't know. I had to research more about, but explain what it is and what are the symptoms and how did you finally was able to get a final diagnosis that this is what you have.
um, so Lyme disease typically is very treatable as long as you catch it right away. But it's a vector-borne illness that can be transmitted through ticks, and I got bit by a tick in 2007. It was March 10th of 2007. I was horseback riding in South Carolina, and I felt something biting me. And so I was like, trying to tear off my clothes, trying to find whatever was biting me. And I pulled this tiny, tiny little bug off of me and just, threw it away. I was like, oh, I got an insect bite, no big deal, right? But I had grown up in the Chicago area. I'd grown up going to visit northern Wisconsin. We were always playing in the woods. You heard about Lyme disease, but you didn't. I mean, I didn't put two and two together. I was like, oh, it's just a bug bite. I didn't think, crap, I got to go like see a doctor immediately. So that happened. And then a couple weeks later, like within a couple weeks, I started having like these weird upper back symptoms, like pain. And I was just like, oh, I'm not, in high school anymore. I'm not dancing anymore. I'm not as active. That's what's wrong with me. It's no big deal. So at the time, I went to the base doctor for the military base that was there in Charleston, and they just gave me a cortisone injection to help with the pain. But the cortisone made my immune system plummet, and so the Lyme bacteria kind of just went absolutely out of control and started to take over my body. So
What were you
if you
feeling at that point?
say again.
What were you feeling? What were the symptoms at that point?
It was just strange migrating pain, muscle spasms, and it was pretty mild to begin with. It was noticeable, but it was mild. And then obviously over the course of the next several years, and then the next decade and a half, they just got progressively worse. Like the muscle spasms would get worse, the pain would get worse. I started having trouble with my coordination, so I would fall a lot, I would trip, and I mean, I don't know, I am clumsy, but that clumsy. So, and then it was like, I was unable to speak properly. I was having really severe brain fog, so cognitive issues. I was having some mental health symptoms, really severe anxiety, really severe depression, suicidal
Wow,
thoughts,
that's a lot.
a lot. So the what happens is the bacteria, when it's in your body, if it gets to your brain, it causes inflammation, and so it's causing inflammation in my brain, which was causing all of those symptoms to happen. And unfortunately, years figure it out because, like I said, normally Lyme is pretty treatable. If you catch it right away, take doxycycline, an antibiotic, a very common, inexpensive antibiotic, for I think like 10 days, maybe up to 30 days, if like depending on if it goes away or not. Um, but a healthy human body should be able to fight this off, like with the assistance of a little bit of antibiotics.
So it
But
took
for it to
you how many years to finally get the correct diagnosis on this?
15 years.
That's
So,
crazy. That's absolutely insane.
yeah. Um, and I was completely like, I was basically on my deathbed at that point because it had gotten so bad that I couldn't function. And at the time, I was living between Colorado and South Carolina. I owned businesses in two places. And so every other week, I was flying to South Carolina and I was flying back to Colorado. I was flying to South Carolina back and forth. And I didn't realize it, but that was actually making it significantly worse. And I did that back and forth for, I think, like almost 2 years. But what would happen is I would go from 10,000 feet elevation in Colorado where I lived, and then I would go back down to sea level. And, you know,
Yep.
think that that would really do anything. But the thing is, there's less oxygen at 10,000 feet. And so what would happen is I would get to 10,000 feet and there'd be less oxygen in my body. And so it would kill off the bacteria. And if the bacteria dies in a large quantity all at the same time, it releases toxins in your system, and that can make you feel really sick. And so I was getting really sick and I didn't know why. And then I would just turn around and go back to South Carolina down to sea level, and then I'd have more oxygen in my body, and then the bacteria would thrive again. And so I was from the bacteria thriving, and then back and forth and back and forth. And
Wow.
it finally just took its toll. I was in South Carolina at the end of April of last year, and I just could not get out of bed. I couldn't function. At that point, I don't think I had eaten for almost 3 weeks. I could barely hold down liquids. I was dying. And I called one of my best friends and was just talking to her because I was on the edge. I was on the verge of committing suicide because I thought to myself, if this is how I'm going to live the rest of my life, because again, at that point, I still didn't have a diagnosis. I
Hmm.
had doctors, there's nothing wrong with you. It's in your head. We can't figure out what's wrong with you. Therefore, you're making it up. And so I'm like, well, okay, if I'm crazy and I'm making this up, I don't want to live this life anymore.
Were you physically active at that point, doing any type of activity, or you couldn't do anything?
I could barely walk. I couldn't get out of bed to go to the bathroom without assistance. So it was extremely awful. And I still do it to this day, but like if there's ever anything going on that I like really should be asking for help with, I don't, because I didn't want people seeing me when I was in the condition that I was in. Everybody has their own stuff going on. The last thing I want is for them to be worried about me. And so I just suffered in silence for all of
But
the.
once you got the correct diagnosis, what was the remediation that was done? What you started taking some special medication, and how are you right now? Are you like free of this diseases?
I wish that that was the case. But so when I finally got my diagnosis, they had to take a ton of blood. They had to do a bunch of blood work for me. But they found out within like a couple days. Like I had a diagnosis within a couple days, and it was the most relieving thing ever because I was finally validated. For all those years that I had been gaslit by all these doctors telling me, "Oh, it's in your head."
No.
No, it's. So I had the diagnosis, And that's when the real challenge began because, again, I hadn't been eating, I couldn't drink, I was very, very weak, my organs were failing. So I had to have a PICC line put in my arm, and they were doing nutritional IVs for me. I was going 3 times a week for like 5 to 6 hours for each of these IVs, about an hour and a half from where I live, and just slowly starting to get my strength back. The doctor that I saw is a functional medicine specialist. At that point, I didn't trust conventional medicine anymore. I didn't trust regular doctors because every time I went to see, a typical doctor, they or a specialist or anybody who's involved in conventional medicine, they would either tell me there was nothing wrong with me or they couldn't figure it out or that I needed to, go see somebody else. Nobody ever really took the time to look. And I even saw an endocrine specialist, and that's kind of, I'll get to that eventually, but I saw an endocrine specialist because my thyroid doesn't work because of the Lyme disease. And the endocrine specialist only did like a basic blood panel.
Hmm.
They didn't look one step further. And if he had looked like one step further, he would have found what was wrong. So, you know, um, but they had me on a bunch of supplements, like, and I still have to take it, because I'm like a year and a half into this
So
recovery,
you still not
and
fully cured.
no, I'm not, and it's probably going to be a while, if ever, that I'm, fully symptom free because I was sick for that many years, and it really takes its toll on your body. So,
But
um,
again, what do you do now to at least remediate and now that you know what it is, what are the things that they prescribe to you to improve your health?
so everything that I take is a supplement. It's all supplement based, with the exception of my thyroid medication. My thyroid medication is a prescription drug. Um, but I mean, the containers of supplements that I have to take like 3 times a day are kind of ridiculous. And I know a lot of people think that, oh, functional medicine or supplements or holistic medicine is snake oil. It doesn't work. It's fake. Well, I'm living proof that it
So you
works.
don't now
So
that you have the diagnosis, you don't want to go back to a specialist and see if there is a way to completely cure this, or are you going to stay on this path?
well, I am still under the care of my physician, my functional specialist, and she does have hope that it, is curable eventually, but it's just a matter of my body healing itself after so many years of not being well. So, she adjusts my medications occasionally. The biggest thing that we're battling right now is the fact that my thyroid doesn't work. And, it wasn't working last year either. She had started me on the medication. Every time she does blood work, every time she did blood work this year, it was like it would get better and then it got worse and then it got worse and it got worse and then it was not working again. And
It's
so,
a hypo that you have, which means you have this predisposition to gain weight. Is that what it is?
so hypothyroidism, yeah, can cause weight gain, and that was one of the issues that I had before I had a diagnosis. I weighed almost 100 pounds more than I do now, and
Wow,
it wasn't.
amazing! Congratulations, you lost all that weight.
But I mean, like, I was like, oh, how'd you lose the weight? I'm like, oh, well, I almost died. So, but when once you figure out your thyroid doesn't work, that and you can start to correct that, a lot of it just kind of comes off. So,
But you
um,
probably also start eating healthier once you finally were able to function correctly. You're like, okay, I'm gonna change my lifestyle completely.
yeah. So I always thought I ate pretty well. I don't eat fast food. I don't eat junk food. I just never have. I never wanted stuff like that. I always liked cooking, but it didn't really matter because if your thyroid doesn't work, your body doesn't really care what you're putting into
Yeah.
it. So, it is what it is. But now I am on a special diet, because I can't like she wanted me to cut out dairy and gluten and soy and caffeine. Don't drink my that either. But anyway, so I am on a special diet, and like any of my training partners, any of my friends will tell you that I am really psychotic about it. Basically, to the point where if anybody invites me over for dinner, I bring my own food with me
That's
because
good. That's good. That's great. So how when jiu-jitsu came to your life, you were already diagnosed, you were already on this recovery path. Let's say after the first session training, after one week, how did you feel? Did you feel that your body was weak, or were you handling okay the cardio, or you had to do any adjustment to really start picking up?
the biggest issue I had looking back on it, I think was more of a mental thing because at the time I started jujitsu, I still had a cane in my car. I still had my handicap placard because what would happen is like the issues I was having with Lyme, it would kind of come in waves. And so even if I would have a good day, that didn't mean that I was going to have a good day the following day, or if the day started out good, that it wasn't going to end with me in pain or with my muscle spasms or unable to walk. And so it was really hard for me to think or to get past that because it was I'm looking at this. I'm like, okay, I'm doing jujitsu. I'm doing a martial art. I'm signing up for this, but I'm still carrying a cane in the car. Like
So it was really a matter of self-confidence. You were not too confident in yourself at that point.
right. And it wasn't even just from not being able to walk. It was because the brain fog that I had still at that time was very, very difficult on me. I would be like, okay, move your right leg, and my left leg would move, or something like that. It was really, really backwards. I'm like, how am I supposed to learn how to do any of these moves if I can't remember something that happened 5 minutes ago? And I know that everybody like, I'm mid 30s. Everyone's like, oh, we're 30s. We forget stuff too. This is a little bit that. So this really causes me like, I will forget your name. I will forget all sorts
Did you
of
forget my name already?
remember yours. That's the only reason why I feel connection.
No,
Remember yours.
yeah, no, but it's quite amazing that you went through all this to step into this uncertainty and unknown space of jiu-jitsu, and you kept going, because it takes a lot of courage to expose yourself like that after 15 years battle with something and having all those problems. So it's very courageous of your part to not only do it but kept doing and, and actually move to the next level, which is to compete, because it takes a whole different level of mindset to be able to put your skills to prove in a competition. You know that rolling at the gym is completely different than going to a competition. The adrenaline and everything. How did you transition today, and why did you even think about, okay, I think I want to compete?
Wow. um, so my trial class, I actually looked it up, and it's coming up. My trial class, my first day was December 26th. So my anniversary is coming up, but that was just my trial class. I didn't actually start like going regularly until I think mid-January, just because, the holidays and everything like that. So, um, but I started, and then they were talking about, oh, there's an IBJJF tournament coming up in Indianapolis, and we're all going. And they had like a whiteboard with like everyone's names on it, and I was just walked up and boop, boop, boop. I was 3 weeks into training. I put my name on that board. I think a couple people were like, you serious? Yeah, why not? What's the worst that could happen? It's a competition. We're not going trying to beat the crap out of each other. This isn't an MMA fight. This is jujitsu. We're just hugging, right? So weeks in, I signed up for my first IBJJF comp, and at after training for 9 weeks, I went and I got a silver medal at that competition, and I loved it. And I look back at my video footage, and I hope that it never ever goes that way ever. I had no idea what I was serious. But then 2 weeks later, I went and did the Charleston Open, back where my life fell apart, and I won a gold medal. So, and ever since, I've just been absolutely addicted to it. So,
But
I
you are
travel.
addicted because of the adrenaline. You are addicted because for you is a way to prove yourself and prove your skills. What really attracts you for that competition?
For me, the biggest thing is that it's really hard for me to find people who are in my division to practice with. I don't have anybody. All of the women who are at my academy are smaller, significantly smaller. Um, and even when I go to open mats and stuff like that, to women's open mats, it's like it's really hard. There's not like another me there. So for me, the appeal of competing is to actually go and go against myself. I want to see, what I can do against a me, because I know what I can do against a 200-pound male training partner, which is not much. But I do, it makes me stronger. It makes me, try to figure things out a little bit more. And then when I go to competition, it actually feels a little bit easier than, just regular training, because I'm not going against these big dudes. I'm going against, a female of my size, and it feels kind of good to do that. So I just wish that I had more people, in my brackets. So,
So
uh,
besides the Lyme disease, which is a lot, you maintain yourself pretty healthy, right? No major injuries, even after you start jiu-jitsu, because I know that once we start, your body is not used to some of the moves, so it's very easy to get hurt. Did you ever experience something like that?
yeah, I sure did. I'm actually currently recovering from surgery on my MCL, because I tore my MCL, I think, like 10 weeks
Oh
ago.
wow, really?
I'm racking up the injuries. Let's see. So far in my first year of jiu-jitsu, I've had both of my radial joints dislocated. I've had an AC separation, and I've had to have MCL surgery. And I haven't even put 12 months on the mat yet. So it's going great.
And that all of those injuries were during training, not competition, just training, right?
During training. Yeah. So it probably would be harder for me to go back to competition if I had a serious injury there. I know everybody talks about, the mental aspect of returning to the sport after you've had an injury, like a severe injury. Um, but I don't necessarily think that that's going to be the case. I think for me, I just, need the assurance of my doctor and my physical therapist that I'm good to go. And then I don't know, probably because of all the unhealthy coping mechanisms I had of being able to like turn off like physical issues in my own head just so I could function throughout the day for all those years. As soon as they tell me I'm good, I'm going to be like, okay, if anything feels like it hurts, we're going to turn that off. So hopefully that doesn't backfire on me, but I'm getting there. I'm healing. So, and I've already started training again. I'm already sparring again, and originally, or for most of the year, my game was always the top game. I wanted to wrestle, I wanted to do takedowns, I wanted to end up on top, and I come back from my injury and I'm pulling guard. Everyone's like, "What?" Got to work around it. So,
So you finish physical therapy. You're already back to the mat right now. So you feel that you are fully healed, or you still have some weaknesses as far as strength in the legs and everything. Still working on it.
no, I'm definitely still working on it. So, my quads atrophied almost like 4 centimeters after the surgery. So I have a lot of strength to build back up, especially, for my weight class. I fight at heavyweight, and these girls are real strong.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, all day, every day, I'm doing physical therapy. So I've got, I do yoga stuff, I do strength training. I go over to the health center and I'm, lifting weights and doing all sorts of stuff to build it back up. And, previously, before the injury, it was, I was going, I don't even know how many, like, it was like 20 hours a week sometimes that I was training. And now most of my time is spent just doing physical therapy. But I do try to go over as much as I can just to,
Now,
keep rolling.
now your page, your Instagram page, is actually very dedicated to the other thing that you do, which is dance, right? So what came? I'm assuming that dance came first and jujitsu and anything else because it feels like you are very passionate for that. Is that your main
Yeah.
career?
Yeah. So I coach pole. And I only started pole a little over a year ago because, again, back to being sick and weak and unable to walk, I knew that I had to incorporate exercise at some point because otherwise I was not going to, keep getting stronger. And I couldn't walk on a treadmill, but I could hold onto a pole. So I started doing pole, and I had done it. I had done like a couple classes like a few years prior, and I was just so sick that I couldn't continue with it. So I started pole. I started to get stronger, and then I found jujitsu. But I was also like at the time I was starting pole, I was also starting figure skating again. I was doing hit training, and then I brought on jujitsu. I also do archery, and I'm like, okay, I gotta pick what I'm gonna.
But pole today is what you do as far as career. You teach, you teach, you go to a school and you teach there, or you have your own gym. How it works?
I teach private lessons for pole, so that's that's my favorite thing. So I have a bunch of other things that I do for work,
Mm-hmm.
so that kind of not sports relevant, but I mean, yeah. So I do love pole. Pole holds a special place in my heart simply because before pole I couldn't walk. After pole I could walk. So I know a lot of people look at it and they're like, what is that? And I'm just like, that's actually really great exercise and it's why I'm so strong.
Well, I bet you
So
that your grips on jiu-jitsu are great because if you can hold your whole body with your hands, I mean, I bet you that once you get a grip, it's gonna be hard to break.
I do have very strong grips. Yes, yes, I do. So, and my Instagram page, like I'm trying to make it more equal with it, but that's very recently that I decided that I wanted to do that. And it was mostly because when I started jujitsu, for some reason, and I still am this way about it, especially coming back from my injury. I'm like, oh look, it's me again, and I'm shy. Hi. But it's very personal to me, like because I kind of just fell into it. And I'm typically pretty introverted. I'm not gonna like go
Really?
out
It
of
doesn't look like introverted.
that. It's a product of me needing to cope with an illness for so many years. Is that I always, this is what everybody saw because what was really going on was really awful. So, but I can't unlearn this behavior either. So I am really good at talking to people if they want to talk to me, but I'm probably not going to go out of my way to be like, hey, what's up? So,
No, but that's good.
but
That's good. I think it's good that you are almost like recreating yourself, your identity, and making sure that you are sharing those things, being yourself again. It took so much for you to go through this journey that it feels like you are reborning, right?
yeah, especially because I mean, this is definitely a 180-degree turn because I was never an athlete. When I was in high school, I did the pom squat. It was basically cheerleading, but the dance version of that. And I never did contact sport. I never did wrestling. I never did anything. As a matter of fact, I was a band nerd. I played jazz saxophone. I don't know if anybody knows that, but I played jazz saxophone. Yeah, but it's I'm trying really hard to like balance my Instagram a little bit, but it's tough because jujitsu, I'm like for some reason I don't want people watching me do jujitsu. It's like a personal thing for me. that's why, like, when I first started competing, with the exception of the Indianapolis Open, just because of the proximity to our academy, like a few people went. But after that, like, I went and I did a whole bunch of competitions on my own, and I didn't tell anybody where I was going. And it was just because, I don't want to thing. So,
Yeah, I
but,
completely understand. I completely understand. Well, good thing is that you are back on the mats. You are now gonna continue to evolve. The second year is always better than the first one. The first one is very tough, but it gets better because you start learning the techniques. Things start to make more sense. You start to have more awareness about your body position and what can go wrong if you turn the knee from one side to the other, right? So I think a lot of lessons learned.
yep, some of those I've already learned. So,
So what is your plan moving forward now? You're gonna continue to invest more on pole? You're gonna share more with jiu-jitsu? What is your plan as far as, for example, 2023?
yeah, so obviously I'm gonna, continue doing jujitsu. I don't think that this is ever going to not be a part of my life. I mean, I think that a lot of the things that go wrong for people with it which cause them to not come back to the sport, that's already happened to me this year. And I just want it more. I want to come back, and like, I missed so many competitions this fall, and I'm just like crying over my IBJJF calendar. Like, I'm supposed to be in Rome right now. And, but there's next year. So, but I'm definitely going to keep doing jujitsu. I'm going to keep coaching pole. I'm keep doing more of that. And I'm getting my aerial yoga instructor certification this month, so I'll be able to teach well, and you know, who knows?
Do you also
So,
feel progress as far as overall health? Because after you've been diagnosed and you have this new supplementation and everything, do you feel progress? Do you feel like the symptoms are fading away? Is getting better over time?
so jujitsu has definitely helped me, most specifically with my cognitive function, because again, before, like, my brain and my muscles couldn't communicate with each other, and I thought that it was going to be like a physical memory thing, like, oh, I have to remember how to do this move. Well, after doing it for, even just a few weeks, my body started to just do it on its own. And so my brain was communicating with my muscles in a way that it hadn't done in like a decade and a half. So it's actually healing some of these connections in my brain that were damaged or destroyed by the Lyme disease. So,
Wow, that's beautiful. I don't think that a lot of people realize this type of benefits in doing jiu-jitsu. That's really good that you are sharing this perspective. Now, going back to the 100 pounds, because that's a big achievement, and I want to touch on that as well. You said that you lost 100 pounds. Now, when you were at that peak, going back 100 pounds more, what was really the most difficult part for you? Was the Lyme disease symptoms, or it was not feeling good with yourself? Because you even said that you had suicidal thoughts. What was really the worst part? Mainly looking now, right, that you not only are very active, but you're doing a lot of sports and feeling good about yourself. So when you look back, what was the hardest parts during that time?
the hardest part throughout basically all of it was just the crippling fatigue. Um, because if you're that exhausted and you don't know why, it's really hard to get up and do stuff in general. And I know that a lot of people talk about like motivation versus discipline, and this is definitely that, because I never had motivation. There was nothing that was going to get me out of bed to be like, this is going to be a great day, because this was never happening that way. So, I got up because I had stuff to do. That's just what I did. I made myself things to do so that I was forced to get up and do them. Otherwise, I probably would have died a long time ago. But being heavy like that, it wasn't. Obviously, I didn't feel good about myself. I mean, I look back at those pictures and it's just wild. Like, you wouldn't say that was me. You'd be like, that's an entirely different person.
So
Um,
self-esteem were. not in a good shape as well at that point.
Oh, say it
And the
again.
self esteem
Oh, so
improve.
my self.
Yeah, improve it so much over the years. At that point, you have none basically.
Yeah, I mean, I had none. There's like self-esteem would have been, something a blessing to have, like anything like that, because at for all those years, the only thing, my only goal was like basic functioning. It's like get out of bed,
Yeah.
make sure you take a shower, go work, like actually do work, and then cook, like feed yourself, like basic stuff was a struggle. So I like the thought, like looking in the mirror and being like, oh wow, you look awful. That didn't even really ever even cross my mind because I was struggling with just the basics of life at that point.
How long
So
it took you to lose that 100 pounds? A year?
um well, let's see. I'm trying to think what, because again, it was a side effect of my illness, the weight loss. It wasn't like I'm going out and I'm losing 100 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm like I'm not going like work for that. I'm just, so it came off over the course of probably like 2 years, maybe a year and a half. So and again, a lot of that was just because I couldn't eat. So it wasn't like, oh, I changed my diet, I changed my lifestyle, and I lost 100 pounds. I know a lot of people do that, and it's, but it's, for me, it was a side
Well,
effect of
but
being
but
ill.
even that, right? I know that it was not like planned as a diet going through. It was more result of fixing the other issue. But then when you lost your first 50 pounds, you probably look at the mirror and say, "Wow, this is pretty cool." Did you ever stop throughout that journey of 100 pounds to start bringing back that self-esteem and love yourself again?
Yeah, I remember that there was a point where I think I bought like my first pair of skinny jeans and I put them on and I was like, wow, I fit in these, Looking back, I mean, I was still very heavy, but I felt a lot better than I did when I was at my heaviest. So it's, and that's a whole other thing that I deal with at this point. Is I have really severe body dysmorphia because of it, and so that's a tough thing for training for me, is because I'll look at somebody and I don't realize how much smaller I am than them, and it can possibly put me in, a bad situation, because there's certain sparring that shouldn't be taking place.
Hmm.
It's just it would not be a competition setting, but it's my brain doesn't register that like some of these guys are huge compared to me, and I'll just go like, okay, yeah, let's practice takedowns. No, that's not a good idea. So yeah, my MCL surgery was a result of me making a poor choice with that.
Oh, really? It
So
was during a takedown?
yep, yep, I got taken down. So but it is, everything's, a learning experience, so it's all good.
Well, you seems to be happy, and I think that this is the most important thing. There are obstacles on the way, as we know. Uh, for the past 2 years, I had two surgeries, both of issues that happened to me during competition. So it happens, and I don't stop to regret anything. I think it's part of the journey. Some people get hurt climbing up the stairs at home. So you cannot really put in your mind that, oh, it was because of this sport. It is what it is. If you love what you're doing, that's what matters.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I know a lot of people start jujitsu as like a weight loss journey for them. And although I didn't start jujitsu for a weight loss journey, I've definitely noticed significant changes in my body. Pull will do certain things. It is a full body workout, but it makes certain areas strong. Jujitsu makes certain areas strong. And so even though like my weight has kind of stayed the same. I've definitely, like, my pants will get smaller, like when I first started, and my muscles would be way more compact, and I love the way that I look because I do jujitsu, because I do pull. So it's a fantastic workout for everybody, and so I think that people who are starting a weight loss journey, it would be a really good place to start. It's tough, but that's the kind of dedication it takes to change your lifestyle, to change your diet, to change your habits, to live a healthier lifestyle is difficult. And jujitsu in itself is difficult. So if you're able to do jujitsu, you're going to do great with your weight loss journey.
Yeah.
I think that's a great thing for everybody that does it.
Now it's very different from talking to you and seeing some of your competitions pictures because you have a very strong game face during those pictures. So does it change? Do you change completely when you are at on the mat? You just turn on something else. You stay too full. What is that? Because it's talking to you is completely different from that persona of those pictures.
Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of funny because like when I'm walking to the mat, like everything changes for competition for me. I like get in the zone. I hear nothing. Like I'm going to do the thing and that's it. But like beforehand, like in the bullpen, I'm playing my Nintendo Switch. Like, not really. I know a lot of people get stressed out, and I appreciate that so much because I have anxiety in other aspects of my life, and I'm sure that competing for a lot of people does give them anxiety. For me, it doesn't really, because my mindset of it is like, well, firstly, this how did this even show up in my life to begin with? Like I'm not even supposed to be doing this, maybe. And so that, and then I'm voluntarily being there. Like competing is fun for me. Yeah, you can get that could always be a worry for people, but I'm just there to have a good time. I'm there myself against me, see what areas I need to work on so that I can improve. So I'm obviously the girl with the little Chun-Li buns playing her pink Nintendo. And the face happens when so.
That's good. I love this mindset because, as you said, you have anxiety in other areas of your life. And if you brought this to the competition, it would be terrible because you know how anxiety is. It's really tough to deal with. So some people they actually quit jiu-jitsu altogether just because they cannot handle the anxiety.
Yeah. So I think that I get more anxiety trying to make eye contact with people at sparring to like practice than I do ever in a competition.
Really? Why?
I'm shy. I'm extremely shy. Nobody believes it, but I
Yeah.
am. So
Hard to
yeah,
believe.
even for a year, I'm just like,
Are you on the same gym for the past year? On the same
yep.
team? Yep.
I train at lab in Naperville, so I've gone to a couple other places too. I travel, like I go and visit my brother up in northern Wisconsin, and there's a place on the way up there that's like a little family stuff. Hi Ben, hi April, hi everybody. Um, so I'll train with them on my way up there, but yeah, mostly at BJJ Lab. So
Awesome. Tracy, it was super fun talking to you. Finally, we were able to make it work. This was supposed to be recorded some other time, but things got in the way. I hope that you are 100%, if not close to be 100%. And I really wish you a great 2023 season, that you can enjoy every single competition and enjoy the journey and continue to share this enthusiasm that you have.
thank you so much. Yeah, I'm keeping up with it.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, everyone. This is a wrap for today's episode. Stay tuned. We have much more